Welcome to Rebecca Sounds Reveille. I am absolutely jazzed about the guest that we have for you today because he's a transformation coach and a marketing enthusiast. He's very passionate about helping others, just like I am. And so this just really excites me. And his passion is helping those break the barriers that really hold them back from achieving more business and productivity in their lives, both personally and professionally. And he is the founder of ProGrowthVA and host of ProGrowth Podcast. You've got to check him out. It's really exciting, and you're going to hear more in just a little bit. But his mission is, and with quotes, to help more people better. With his unique background, he is an Army veteran, former StoryBrand Certified guide, and former Ramsey Solutions Master Financial Coach. I really need to talk about this, but we might have to save that for another episode. Also, 48 Days Seminar Facilitator, and we're going to go into that. Definitely today, you've got to hear about this. And he enjoys so many things from the outdoors to, things that involve the beach, near the water. And he is, from what I understand, still determined to learn how to surf. So without any further ado, I'd love to bring him on and get you connected with all the things that he's got going on. You're going to love him. Dan Woerheide, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Rebecca. I'm glad to be here and looking forward to our conversation.
Me too.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just really delighted.
It's always so much fun being able to, not just share the things that we're doing and working on, but just to have these conversations. So.
It is exciting. Let me ask you, you have your own show. You're also doing a lot of other things. And anybody that says, how can a person do all of this? The key is, if you want something done, you go to the person that has the busiest agenda. Because they're scheduling, they know how to schedule, they know how to get things done, accomplish it, and get it done well. And you really rock this. You're a master at a lot of things here, and some of those things that we're going to talk about today. But I want to ask first, how did you get into doing what you're doing now?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. So, a lot of trial and error, honestly, a lot of trying new things, a lot of finding who I am and where I fit in the world. And you alluded to it, but we'll talk some about that, I'm sure. But just navigating my own life and transition from the military is kind of, so I spent a career in the Army as an intelligence analyst, a trainer, and a lot of other things. But before I left the military, I knew that I didn't want to continue to serve someone else's purpose, that there was a purpose out there for me, and I was going to figure out how to get in touch with that for myself. And it started way before the military, but that's ultimately where it ended up. And then when I transitioned, I left sort of with I was going to say blank check. I don't know if that's the right acronym, or an analogy even, but I left without a resume on purpose because I was determined to break through the barriers and figure out where I was supposed to be going myself. And trial and error is how I got to where I am today. And I feel like I finally found the things that bring me the most joy day to day. I show up because I get to, and I'll just share that. So when I say I get to, people tell me, Dan, an hour phone call with you changed my entire perspective in my business. It affected the way I was interacting with my family. It changed everything. And that's what I get to do. So I love that.
I think this is really exciting because there are so many of us who have been in a position where we're saying, I don't know what my purpose is. I know that I'm not happy with what I'm doing. I do it because of this. And that can be just anything from their current position or just daily events that are going on that's leaving them stagnant. And so really learning how to embrace things that make changes that just make their life pop is so much fun and it's such a joy. You get to do that all the time and you love it. Let's talk about ProGrowth VA.
Yes. Well, so um, I'll have to be completely transparent here and say that ProGrowthVA, in name is, it's based in professional and even personal growth, but it wasn't initially designed for the coaching and the podcast and the things that I'm doing today. It was initially, so right now, a lot of my income comes from supporting StoryBrand guides. You mentioned in my bio there that I am a former certified StoryBrand guide, and I figured out really quickly that I didn't really like the designing aspect of being, a marketing agency. I really enjoyed figuring out how to make the technical aspects of executing marketing well work together. Things like plugging in automation sequences in different CRMs, client relationship or customer relationship management softwares. And they all work differently, but they all work similarly. And it's learning how to navigate those things I enjoyed. The problem solving aspects I enjoyed. And so I shifted a little bit initially and started doing that level of support for people who say technical stuff makes their stomachs turn. So that's kind of where I started. As I started navigating work I was enjoying more. And then that enabled me to have some time to spend having conversations with people and just helping them bring some clarity to their work and their lives. Some of the challenges that I had faced, people were asking me, how did you manage to navigate through that? And I just found that answering those questions based on my experiences and, the culminating events that have been my life, brought me even more joy. And so that's kind of landed me where I am today, going back to your original question even. But that's, so ProGrowth is the name. So Dan Woerheide, nobody can spell my last name. And so as much as I would love to make more of a personal brand, I didn't see it making any sense to put my name up there. And we're doing some branding things right now that are going to help facilitate more of the personal branding side. But so ProGrowth, it's still about growth. It's still about professional and personal results. That's kind of how that came about and what it means. And the VA was because initially it's multi-purpose. So currently I'm based in Virginia Beach area. It's where I grew up. I came back here after I transitioned from the service. I was doing virtual assistance essentially. And I'm a veteran. So
I love it.
The VA has multiple meanings to me. We threw that in there.
I sure love it. I mean, that says a lot though, because it really personalizes what you can out of a brand name that isn't just your name or a family oriented name. And I really think that there is something for the audience to listen to here in something that you said. And here was I'm going to kind of paraphrase. You said that, initially you hadn't expected the ProGrowth podcast from this. There were other things that evolved. So I want to really point this out to the audience because oftentimes we think what we're doing right now is, and even if it's something that we love to do, this is all that there is right now. I'm really passionate about this. And so we get really involved with what we're doing. And all of these seeds that we plant all the time with what we're doing have the potential for such massive growth or growth in directions that we never thought that it was going to evolve into. And we turn around and go, wow, this is amazing. And why that's important for me to share with the audience is to say anybody that's watching or listening right now to know that whatever you're going through, as long as you keep moving and you keep focusing and acquiring as many skills as you can. Oftentimes people say, don't be a jack of all trades, but acquiring a lot of skills can really help you in a lot of different ways. And then also connecting with people so that you have the growth or a mentorship and a number of different things that just allow such blossoming in a lot of different areas. And I think that this is really neat that you shared that because your personal experience has itself shown that.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, I want to point out how much of a challenge that can be to wrap your mind around because that was a challenge for me when I started looking at all of the things that I had done in the past. I started getting stuck in trying to figure out how I can wrap all of that up and represent it myself, right? You know, I'm a 48 days seminar facilitator. I'm a 48 days mastery coach, or working to get certified as a mastery coach there. I have been a sexual assault victim advocate through my career in the military, and I was an instructor, you know, lots of things. A former StoryBrand Certified guide. You know, how do you wrap all of those up and make them your own, essentially, when it's everybody else's work? And so I got stuck at that for a minute. And then I just started to back up, take inventory of what are all the common pieces that come to play for me in all of those aspects. And who cares where it came from? They're all enabling me to have better, more productive conversations with people. I'm able to leverage from those experiences as they apply, or, you know, weed through the ones that don't apply in particular scenarios to just be able to help people better.
I love that.
Just accepting that those experiences contribute to who I am and what I'm able to share today is kind of, transformation coach. How many people do you know that call themselves that? And it's not because I'm scared to say I'm a life coach or a business coach or an entrepreneurial coach. It's that there's much more to it. You know, we can talk about all those aspects. We can talk about your marketing.
I think that this is neat. Let's talk about, though, the 48 days, because there's more to that title than just the 48 days. And so those that are listening or watching that may not be familiar with some of the things going on out there, or especially this program, and after they hear a little bit about it, they're going to want to know more, because professional and personal development, always you're like, okay, wait, I need to know more about this. So let's talk about that, because there's a bigger title to this, and this is deep. Yeah. This really is deep.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that into this as well. But so before I get into the title, let me just back up and say that far too often I see people, I talk to people, I hear from people that are miserable in their work. And most of them, as a result, are also miserable in other aspects of their lives. Yes. And that's important, because the work that I'm doing with the 48 Days seminars is really based on Dan Miller's best-selling book. Dan Miller is the author of 48 Days to the Work and Life You Love. The seminar is 48 Days to the Work and Life You Love. And it's really helping people get out of that space where they're lacking fulfillment. They're not sure what's missing or how they can achieve more. But it has a lot to do, most likely, with finding work that's going to help them feel more passionate when they show up. And that in itself, you know, just explodes in other areas of their lives. Their relationships improve, their ability to enjoy time with their kids improves, all of the things. Ideally, also their profitability improves. And, you know, part of what we walk through in there is just exploring what that could look like. Far too often, we look at our lives I mentioned before we started recording that while I was in the military, I felt like my purpose was issued to me on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, that caused me to put aside some of the things that I was interested in personally and lose touch with what that looked like for me. And so a part of what I'm doing right now, and I mean, you talked about, I'm definitely still determined to learn how to surf. I'm exploring those still. What does Dan really enjoy? And I have the opportunity to do that now. But if I was still doing work that I wasn't fulfilled in, and that was spilling over into the other areas of my life, I don't know that I would feel as compelled to start exploring those things again. Mm-hmm. Here's the challenge is, for the most part, society teaches that in order for us to grow up, become responsible adults, contributing members of society, that we also have to put aside our hopes and dreams and our passions and our desires and all the things we played with as younger people to go to school, go to military or whatever it looks like, get a good job, get the house with the picket fence and, you know, the 2.5 kids that everybody talks about. And And that, for a lot of people, puts them into a position where they have to make a choice about something they just don't know the answer to yet. And they don't know the answer until they are in their 30s or 40s or 50s. And then the question becomes, is it too late for me?
This is
And
true.
we help all of those people with these seminars to walk through a process that's proven through 20 years. So 48 Days to the Work and Life You Love is the book sitting here on the shelf behind me, but 20-year anniversary this past year. They just published the anniversary edition. And it's a proven process that they built this seminar material around. We kind of we hold people's hands, really. You know, some people want more hand holding, some people want a little less, but we walk with them through that process over a 6-week period, ideally within 48 days, to move from where they're at right now, identify what possibilities could exist for them, and help them start moving into that, or even creating that for themselves, depending on what it looks like for them. But both examples have come from that, and I think it's excellent. I'm passionate about it, and here's why. When I first started going through the seminar material myself, because if you want to be good at something, learn how to teach it well.
Yes.
And when I started going through that, it was just pre-COVID. Can we say COVID on your show?
Yes.
So it was pre-COVID, and I just started going through it. And I'll tell you, I believe that was one of the major contributing factors to me having one of my best years ever last year. It's just identifying some things within myself, some introspection work that I did, changed the game for me, allowed me to see things from a different lens. It was just super powerful. But yeah, if you're not feeling fulfilled in work, definitely let's have a chat about the seminar materials, and we can talk about one-on-one. I'll take you through it, or set up a virtual session, or heck, I'm ready for in-person events. I'm moving to Florida in April, in May. And so if we want to do a retreat in Florida and we can cram this stuff into a week and spend a great time together and enjoy the beaches, let's do that too.
I love it. I really love what you are sharing, and it brought to mind a few things. So I'll throw them out and we can kind of get into them if we do, and if we don't, that's okay. But I want to make these bullet points. So the first thing that you shared was really learning about yourself and things like that. And the one thing is, even after we hit graduating high school, and then we go to college or we go to the military or whatever it is that we're going to do, and we learn all these things. And oftentimes we think, okay, I've reached my bachelor's, my master's, my doctorate, or whatever, and that's it. Okay. And just kind of then go through life and then find ourselves sort of unhappy because we haven't, there just isn't anything else. We really need the challenge. We need to continue to allow ourselves to find just how intelligent and passionate, oh gosh, I'm going to really, and passionate that we are. So it makes sense for us to always be looking to grow. And you're doing that. I mean, so you're practicing what you preach. You're in the mastery program as a student right now. And so that says volumes. I mean, you're not saying, okay, listen to what I say, not as I do. You're doing it, and you're continuing to grow. And that in turn helps other people, in turn helps other. I'm going to be just tongue twisted today. So in addition to that, what was on my mind was that always learning about other things that we enjoy is so important, like the surfing. I mean, there's times in our lives we couldn't do certain things, or we did things and explored it, or we need to reevaluate it now because life has changed, our interests have changed, our physical abilities have changed, all of these different things. And so it's really neat to go in and start taking a good look at what we do enjoy. And if we don't know, trying to experience that. The third thing is when you said, can you bring up COVID? And here's where this is important with everything that we're talking about, because we find, like you said, we find times in our lives where we're not happy with the job that we're in or where we're at. But some people have been put in a position due to things such as COVID where their job no longer exists.
Mm,
Or like the housing bubble in 2009, a lot of people lost out and their situations or personal situations changed. Or there's physical injuries that cause someone's life to change. That's a
yeah.
whole thing. Or just retirement. And then you go, well,
What's
now what?
next?
Now what? And there's a lot that comes up on the table with all of these different things between what our current experience is.
Yeah.
One of the things that we reevaluate, and when things like this happen, we go, after working for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years at that, I'm going to do what I want now. And then you go, well, what do I really want to do? And so there's a lot of questions there. And with what you're sharing, I think that this is going to really help unveil some of the cloudiness to things that are going on in people's lives that will allow them to really absorb and then learn things about themselves, which will lead to happier, healthier transformations in the world that they're currently living in, the climate that they're in.
Absolutely. Well, and like I said, when you start exploring things that make you feel more fulfilled in the responsibility piece, and here's the other thing, you just talked about it in summary. Um, People get scared to move forward in exploring something new for a ton of reasons, but one of the biggest ones in the workspace is the false sense of security that it brings. And I say that because you hit all the points. Tomorrow you could not be physically able to perform your job anymore. Then what? So there knocks out your government and your military sector for sure. And that's what happened to me is I woke up and I couldn't perform my duties in the role I was serving in anymore. And it was time for me to go.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do something new. And there were other options, but the primary one was transitioning from the military. We won't get into all the nuances of that, but generally speaking, that could happen. And your job could go away tomorrow. COVID, so many people. And by the way, I want to stress the importance of making it known that my heart goes out to all of those who certainly were affected, impacted in a negative way. Lots of people have lost close relatives, family members as a result of this disaster of a thing.
Yes.
And I'm so sorry for all of you. And then for those people who legitimately, are struggling with the work aspects, call me anyway. We'll figure something out to help you move into something that you can be proud of and enjoy. We'll figure it out. But the other side of that is all of the people who, man, I don't know. So this might be a negative thing. I'm just going to say it though, is that there, I experienced my best year of growth ever last year. And I think it was from a multitude of reasons, but the biggest thing that stands out to me and in the conversations I've had with other leaders who have also experienced a level of growth, either on track for what they anticipated or above what they anticipated. Those people that experienced growth last year all had one thing in common. And it's the same thing that stands out to me is they approached it with a growth mindset. They didn't sit back and say, this is going to make me a victim of anything. They just said, how can this enable me to do other things, to do things differently, to do things better, or even to serve people better? And that's the one thing that does stand out also. If there was growth, and then looking at it from what does this enable for me? How does it help me serve people better? All of those people experience growth.
I think that's a pretty, this is an awe-striking statement, or, few statements all combined. And I'm going to say, there may be people listening going, well, no one should be experiencing that because this was so devastating. But honestly, you've got to take a look and say, how do we all succeed beyond this challenge?
Yeah.
And when you have people that are rising up like yourself to serve others, then it's a beneficial thing on a multitude of levels. It is not a all about me kind of thing. And the result from it has empowered you to continue to help other people. And this is and on even more people. And so this is what it's about. And so I think that when we look at it from that perspective, it's really important to really listen to that and see what the result is. Because I don't know, some people that did have some growth may be feeling a little guilty, because there were so many people that had devastating things happen, but it's a necessity, because those of us who have these certain resources, strengths, abilities to equip people who've been put in a position that don't have them in their local area or don't know where else to go, can get them the information that they need so that they can do that and move forward. And this is really, really important. And I think that you just brought up a really good point, and I'm really excited about that. I'm excited with what you're doing, because you're really transforming people's lives. I am really tongue twisted today, and I'm excited. And so I just want to get all this information out that's exploding in my head, because I know people are going to be just so having such a profound difference made in their life because of what you're doing specifically. And I think it's just amazing. Let me ask you too. So what type of work does this entail for you? Is it really arduous to do this, or because you love it, it's really easy?
So I'll answer that a little bit roundabout way, if that's okay.
And, oh yeah.
One of the things that I love to do, and I've said this, I recognize this in myself when I was serving in the military still. The reason I stayed in the military as long as I did in the first place was because I realized that I could make a difference in at least one person's life. And my goal now, if you will, is to get up each day and work towards making a difference in one person's life. If I can make an impact in one person's life today, I am successful. And then I get to get up and try it again tomorrow. So either way, I'm successful. And the helping more people better, let me start there too, and say that it's not really about how many people I can help directly, but those people whose lives I'm able to impact, transform, help them walk through a process or guide them in finding their direction, and having those aha moments or those breakthroughs, or just moving into stuff that makes them feel good. The more of those people that I get to impact, the more people around them are impacted, who in turn impact others in a positive, influential way. And so I'll go back to what we started this piece with and say restaurants in my area are a great example of growth, because we can all agree that in most places restaurants were impacted, tremendously.
Yes.
The ones that stood out to me and the ones that grew here in my local area are the ones who took the scenario and said, okay, we have a challenge. How can we leverage this challenge and bring our communities together, serve the people who are in need right now? And as a result, their businesses have, just blossomed in different ways they didn't probably even think was possible at the time. And as restrictions here have started to lift for us, those restaurants are thriving, whereas others are still suffering. And again, I'm not trying to bring light to anybody that's suffering, and my heart goes out to. I want, that's very important to me, because I know that there are people that are impacted and impacted in ways that they probably could have never expected, and so some people are certainly suffering as a result of that. But and even if they're trying from a growth perspective, they may have been just out of their hands. So I want to be clear about that.
Yes.
But yeah, so that, I don't know if that answered your question. I got off on a tangent, but it's really about helping more people and looking at how I can do that. So I get up each day, and I realized at some point that that's what I get to do. And so it's not arduous for me. It looks a lot like coaching in a group program with regards to the seminar piece. in being able to guide people through that is an experience that is rewarding, because at the end of that they say, wow. And there's a lot of aha moments that occur, and just to see those, or even hear about little bits and pieces that they share with me, we work through it pretty closely, but when they share the little pieces with me beyond that is what's impactful for me, and says that, yes, I get to show up today and I did make an impact in one person's life. So I was successful today.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit too about your podcast.
Yeah. Well, my podcast, like many things, started off on a completely different footing. It was in alignment with the marketing work that I was doing. And we started, I think, back in April of 2020. And at some point I was like, yeah, this just doesn't feel right. And so in November, I switched gear. I need to go back and record a new intro, actually. So thank you for the reminder. But in November, we switched gears a little bit, and we just started having some conversations around what does it look like to get started, taking the leap, and moving into those things that we've just talked about. Fear. What how do you navigate that piece, and what does that look like? And talking about all things moving into entrepreneurship, or finding work that is meaningful to you and profitable, and all the things. Those are the conversations we're having. And I'm still just trying new things and exploring what those conversations can look like, and trying to have fun with it along the way. I am having fun with it, but I'm trying to make sure that that's a piece of it, because if it's not fun for me, I don't want to do it as much.
Well, I really think that this is incredible. And there's something that you said that I think needs to be spoken of in great detail. And I do this when I do my one-on-ones with others. And it's been a crux of helping really change the direction for a lot of people. And it's just a one word that you said. And I'm really glad to hear you're talking about it, because like I said, this is something that really needs to be gone in on into great detail. And that is fear. Because fear just is really so an umbrella of problematic things for people on so many levels. And it just, the thing of that is, and I'm going to let you hang on to that so the listeners can go, and those in the audience that are watching can go to your show and hear about this. But that itself is so limiting. And most of us don't want to admit that we're afraid of whatever it is that creates this limiting behavior or drive or ability to move in a certain direction. And I think that is just incredible that you're talking about it. I do not hear many people going into this topic at all. And it is huge. It is huge. And I love it. I'll just make one point there. I have a quote that I like to use. And it's adapted from probably a well-known quote. The well-known quote is, everything we could ever want is on the other side of fear. Yes. I think that that's extremely ambiguous. So my quote, my adapted version is, no, everything we could ever want is on the other side of action. And when you can start taking action, you can start figuring out how to navigate with, through, around, over, doesn't matter, fear. Just start by taking action in the direction you're trying to go. I like that because that moves you beyond the fear stigma in itself. I like that. It's so ambiguous. It's so overwhelming. And I think you said it best. It's an umbrella, right? There's so much that can be unpacked when it comes to fear. Fear of the financial security piece, fear of what people are going to think about me, fear of, am I good enough? Am I too old? Am I too young? Am I experienced enough? Yeah. I mean, there's just so much, and that becomes extremely, people get stopped in their tracks because of that. And I'm telling you right now, if you take anything away, certainly I talk about this more on my show, but just start taking action. Don't worry about trying to overcome fear. Start figuring out how to embrace it, work with it, hold its hand, live with it. But because it's going to be there, it's going to be nagging at you. It's going to be sitting on your shoulder all the way. Agreed, 100%. I couldn't have said that better. I love that because that is so spot on. I love this. All right. So if the audience would like to listen to your podcast, we're going to start that first because that's what we're talking about. Where do we send them?
Absolutely. So all of my stuff is available on my website, but it's ProGrowthVA.com. The podcast is /podcast. And then I'll jump back really quick. If they're interested in chatting with me about the seminar, they can click the schedule a call button on my website. We can have a quick conversation, or always send me an email. I hope it's okay to throw these things out there. But
I want you to throw out all the contact ways, venues, vias, just the word SHARE we're not saying anymore. So we're saying connect.
Oh, okay.
Connect.
Yeah. Connect with me.
I'll tell you why after the show's over.
That's fine. Yeah. So support@ProGrowthVA.com is a good email address. And I do have, I have to mention my wonderful assistant and guiding partner in my business is Elizabeth. So one of us will certainly reach out and schedule some time with you. And I couldn't do the things that I'm able to do today. You talked earlier about all the scheduling and all the things without her help. So she deserves that shout out for sure.
Oh, yes. She's absolutely amazing. She
Thank
is
you.
Amazing.
Yes, she really is. And we're exploring some things on the podcast together even. So definitely check that out on my website, and any information that you want regarding any of the other things, shoot me an email or schedule a phone call. I'm always happy to talk. And yeah, so can I mention the other thing that I'm working on? Is that okay? Yeah. So
yes.
As a result of, and we talked about this beforehand, but Clubhouse has been an interesting experience. And you can find me, by the way, on all social media at Dan Woerheide. There's variations. There might be an underscore. I can't tell you what they all are off the top of my head, but you can find me there. Start with my website. That's a great starting point. But I realized through some conversations, I'm going to use Clubhouse as an experience. I'm not trying to advertise for other platforms, but it is a good place, first of all, to check out if you want to have conversations with people and want to start focusing those conversations based on topics. There's a lot to choose from, and there's some really good conversations happening there. There's also some conversations happening there. So just be mindful of that. If you can get on Clubhouse, then please, hit me up there, follow me, join the rooms we're in together. And I hope that either I or others in the rooms are contributing to the conversation in a way that's impactful. But I say all that to say it landed me on this. All these conversations I'm having, some people aren't ready to commit to a one-on-one level of coaching with someone for many reasons, and fear is often part of it, but because it might be an ambiguous experience up front, and they're not sure where they're trying to go, and so they're not sure that they're ready for that level of attention, and that's okay. So we just recently launched a mastermind experience. We're going to cap it at 15 people, and we wanted to make it available not to the masses necessarily, but to the people who were where I was when I was first getting started. And I thought about, from a strategic perspective, so to speak, what would have been most valuable to me? What would have been affordable to me, yet involved a level of commitment that would also connect me with the resources, the guidance, and the leadership or mentorship, so to speak, that would have helped me, bridge the gap between where I was then to where I am now a lot quicker. There's no promises in the fact that I just said a lot quicker. It just depends on where you're at in your own journey. But we're bringing those resources together in a mastermind type of experience where we're going to be meeting twice a month for an hour. We're going to be bringing some guest expert resources in to talk about different things that you might need for your business or your journey in your career, finding work you love, all of the things. We're super excited about it. So thank you for letting me share that here as well. Right now, until we fill up, or until June 1st, whichever comes first, it's $79 a month. And that is at ProGrowthVA.com/mastermind. That was
I love
super
it.
simple. Thanks.
I love it. I think that this is fantastic because there's so many different ways, so many different platforms, not only from your own personal website, but through other social media, that those who really want to grow and develop deeper and more meaningful things going on in their life and in their networking and everything about it all the way around, making well-rounded really be well-rounded. They can connect with you on so many different ways. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I want to also thank you so much for taking out time from your day to meet with us here today and talk about all of these different things, because your passion is the same as mine, and that's all about helping others. And your specific help more people better. I love this. I love it. I love it. And I just want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's no trouble at all, because these are the kinds of conversations I enjoy. And if I might add, I firmly believe that relationships, community, are the currency of the future. So I'm always happy to sit down and have these kinds of conversations that are impactful and hopefully impactful for someone else.
I feel the same way. So thank you again so much. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to another episode of Rebecca Sounds Reveille. If you missed it, go to ProGrowthVA.com. You're going to find everything you need there, but you're also going to be able to connect with Dan and find all the different social media platforms that he's on. You need to connect with them because there's something a little bit different that you're going to find from each one. It's not just a cookie cutter template everywhere you go, and you're going to be able to grow. So you definitely want to connect with him, see what he's doing, get on board with it. This is a lot of fun. You're going to find joy that you haven't had maybe for a little while in areas that you thought, wow, that hasn't been working for me for a long time. And I'm starting to feel good now, and things are going to be making a difference. And right now, with the climate that we've been in, this is the time. It's springtime. So let's blossom. Connect with him everywhere you can. Make sure that you connect with the Rebecca Sounds Reveille and me personally on all the other platforms. You're going to find me just about everywhere. And I hope that you will take a few minutes to pass along the information to your friends, your family, your loved ones, everybody that you know on social media, and everybody you don't. Thanks for tuning in today.